Can y'all hear me? Thank you. Thank y'all for staying with us. So we're just going to start with a few questions that I prepared, and we have a little bit of extra time, so we have a little time for a few questions from y'all in the audience as well. But the first question I have for folks on stage, for whoever would like to answer, is what does liberation mean to you?
Hello, can you guys hear me? Liberation to me means the freedom from what restricts us. So every day we go through our lives with restrictions, what we want to do, how we want to feel, etc. So it's about uplifting those restrictions and being our true, authentic selves. And that can be expressed through art, through our humanity, and through other mediums with which whatever makes you happy.
Liberation, what liberation means to me, I have a different view on it because I've served over 2 decades in prison. And so liberation to me, first of all, means freedom from prison. Physically being liberated. But while I was in prison, though, I still had to maintain a certain level of liberation while I was incarcerated in order for me to make it up out of there. So liberation for me also means being mentally strong and severely aware of your surroundings. That way you have the freedom to maneuver, dictate, be around this crowd, not be around that crowd, because we think in prison everything is just forced upon you, which to some degree it is, but you still have the decision to move a certain way, be around certain crowds, be around certain people, choose certain jobs in prison. And so to have that freedom, to know that though, and then have that freedom to do it, it actually is tantamount to your actual freedom once you get on the other side of the wall. Like I said, I've used different mechanisms to liberate myself while incarcerated, education being the number one thing. But with that, it was also my creativity. Reading, writing, and things of that nature gave me the opportunity to kind of like use my mentality, my brain, my mind, and all of those things to see the world, travel, and not feel confined to that small space that I was actually in. And not to go on and on. So liberation for me means 2 things. Mental liberation, mental freedom to do whatever you want to do in terms of being aware as well, but also physical, literal liberation, me being freed from prison.
Yeah, that's, wow. I'm sorry, I'm still like letting that marinate. But I've been thinking about this question of like, what does liberation mean to me all week? Especially in preparing for tonight. And I don't think I even had my answer fully until you mentioned that rage and having access to rage and anger itself is an act of evolution and an act of liberation. I think Nina Simone said freedom is to her no fear, truly no fear. And I think that's what liberation is to me as well. Just being able to embrace the fullness of life without any limitations, without any judgment. And that also means not just being, welcome, but also invited, and making sure that if there is a seat at the table that you're pulling, if there's not a seat at the table, you're pulling one up for someone else in all regards. But I also was thinking about the fact that when I was talking to my students last summer about like what does freedom mean to them, a lot of them talked about financial freedom. And I had to explain to them that financial freedom is not the same as Black liberation. And there's a really poignant quote that says, that talks about how sometimes we play a game of imitate the oppressor, and we think that once you've made it, it's when you're able to oppress someone else and not be the one oppressed. But I think true liberation is when there's no oppressor. Everybody's able to just be and coexist in harmony. And so I know it's hard to believe in it, like in times like today with like the news headlines that we get daily, but I believe that we're on this earth to each, push the human race closer and closer and closer to where we started, which was truly liberated. So that's my answer.
So when I think about liberation, I think about agency, right? I didn't serve 2 decades, but having time in prison, it. So similarly, I realized that, but I learned to take value in the things that I could do, right? And so it's, for me, when I think of liberation and how it ties into like agency or decision making, right? And just how to really maximize that, right? In a perfect world, it might, again, when I was in prison, like the perfect world would be like free to be on the outside, to be able to do what I want, right? So then I had to find, okay, so if I can't do that, what's within my agency to do? Can I write? Can I sing? Can I protest? Can I, like, whatever that is, right? So I think a lot of it can feel like all is lost. All is not lost. It can feel like all is lost because we don't necessarily have the freedom to do what we want. But when I shift my mindset to seeing liberation as agency, it still gave me 100% ability to do something, right? So that's how I think of it, agency and decision making.
Liberation to me looks like community. Being able to even be here in this space, surrounded by creativity and hopes to heal and gather with one another is liberating for me. And then also the idea of giving yourself permission to be 100% honest with yourself and not feeling guilty for that. I think too often human beings, we were given these emotions for a reason, and so a lot of us go through the world trying to make other people feel comfortable, and so we suppress a lot of stuff. But the acknowledgement and care to cater to whatever you're feeling at any given moment is liberating for me.
Y'all are deep. Thank y'all for those answers. The second question I have is, what practices do you use to keep yourselves well as artists?
So some practices to keep myself well as an artist. I truly believe that with art, you have to play. There is no art without the playing aspect. You can't write your next creative breakthrough if you're sitting and trying to generate it. You have to go and experience the world so you can write about it. Like if you want to capture the human experience, you have to experience humanity. So ways to take care of myself, it changes day to day. So yesterday, I wanted to watch YouTube videos about the new Universal Studios theme park about to be built. And so that's what I did. And I watched those, and I watched the different vloggers go to Disney and Universal. And it was just fun watching that. And that sparked creativity in some way. And it just gave me a break from just the, daily happenings of life. And then today, my wellness looked like coming here. Like, it was actually being in community. It was getting to listen and watch Diesel's piece, Devin's piece. Just watching everybody's, pieces before even going up myself, that fueled me with the creativity and with the ability to, harness my focus and come on stage myself. So it changes day to day, and it really is just about listening to your body and your mind and, listening to what it needs right then at that moment, and not just kind of giving yourself a one-size-fits-all method of doing so.
One thing I don't know if it's a practice. I have a lot of different practices, but I think what's been the most impactful for, staying well as an artist, I think was the question, has been giving myself permission to be wrong, bad, and cringe. Yeah, I think the first time I shared a lot of this music with a lot of people was on my birthday in November. And for a lot of the songs, I had to just walk out because it was cringe. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what prison taught me. It's once you get there, it might feel terrible, but if you don't die, you survive. And once you get past it, it's like, okay, it was hard, but it's like, you know what, I'm here, I can keep going. And that's allowed me to continue to like create and not feel restricted, you know?
Wow, that's a great question. How I stay well as an artist? I'm weird when it comes to being an artist. So that too. So I would say this, you guys, right? Like iron sharpens iron. I heard that. So I get a lot of inspiration and energy, from other artists. I go to other events, I do open mic nights, and I learn from them. Right? I told you today what I say. I'm gonna be learning from you. I'm gonna do a one-man show, and but most importantly though, also just my downtime. Sometimes I'm really silly. I could be really silly. I know it might not look like it, but I could be really silly. And I just want to share. I'm about to put you on the spot. I'm about to share a story to show just in terms of the creativity and the artistry and things of that nature. So I liken myself to a rapper sometimes. And that's my daughter right there. I love her to death. And I want her to be a rapper too. And so I was trying to show her, this was just last night, I was trying to show her like different ways to like tap into your own creativity, right? So, and we use the freestyle because that's the easiest way to do it, right? You know, you're not thinking about what words you're going to say if you mess up or nothing. And Shop was showing her how you could just let your body go and be the most unintentional with your freestyle, say anything you want to say. And once you really get so relaxed and like you tapped into it, you can refocus now and do the same freestyle, not the same words, but a freestyle nonetheless. And you focus your whole energy into that freestyle, and it will come out as if you wrote it. Right? And I said it to her. Did I not say this to you? But then I turned around and I demonstrated it. Did I not demonstrate it? Right? Well, how you could freestyle and it just sound like blah, 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 blah. And then you could freestyle and it sound like you really sat and wrote that. No, but in your mind, you kind of, again, talked about the being aware and control. I'm focused enough, I'm controlling my thoughts as they're coming to me. And I can snatch the words out and put them right where they're supposed to go or don't snatch the word. And now, like I think I was talking to you guys, and if you do end it on a word that don't rhyme, then rhyme it to the next word. And it's a freestyle, so ain't nobody expecting for you to like Jay-Z, but it'll teach you a little bit more how to tap into your creativity, and then it makes writing easy too, because you can use that same method to write. And that's one of the things that I do to like keep myself well as an artist, and I just like performing too though. That's my biggest thing. When I'm up here, I'm happy.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I could relate with, I don't freestyle, but I free write. You know, just writing without filtering, that's my process, and that's a process that I work with others with, because, yeah, it takes away all that mental stuff that we get in our heads about artists and who can write and who's good. We all have creativity to express. Yeah, anyone else?
I done forgot the question.
The question is, what practices do you use
Yes.
to keep yourself well as an artist?
Thank you. There's this interview of Victoria Petretti, and she says that she engages in activities that give her pleasure, and that's what makes her happy. And so that's resonated with me deeply. And so that's what I do in order to keep myself sane. I'm a busy person and I live a busy lifestyle, and if I need a moment to watch a YouTube video or watch a TV show or a movie and just ground myself, as an actor, I can like cheat and be like, it's homework. I'm watching homework. But it honestly engages the creativity and the fuel inside of me to where I get the energy to continue to go on and do all the things that I need to do. And then I'll go back and echo this idea of community. Just being here, it is so fulfilling. Yeah.
All right. And the final question that I have for y'all is, what do you want people to take away from your work?
you, the individual, is bigger than your traumas, your environment, and your situations. It's no secret. The theme of my show was gun violence and how gun violence is destroying not only black lives, but lives in America. So just being aware of your surroundings and that you can overcome it, and then you could be bigger and stronger at the end. I know some people are forced into environments where there's not a lot of options, and I'm aware of other people are placed in opportunities and situations and spaces where they're supposed to be safe, but because the world that we live in, unfortunately, it's not. So going back to what Joshua said, you're bigger than your environment, and just having community around you will uplift you into any space that you want to be in.
Oh no, mine's is really quick. This is the easiest answer. The message. That's what I want you guys to take away from all of our performances, and more specifically mine. The message. You heard it, so take it. You heard the message. You know what to do. Now let's do. So that's what I want you to take.
What I would like people to take from my work, I think, okay, well, for starters, I wish that a piece like that existed before I wrote it, a piece welcoming black women to feel the justifiable rage that we carry, or justified, not even justifiable, rage that we carry. I really just want black women and black people in general to feel affirmed in their anger. I think we spend so much time being policed in the world that we end up policing ourselves and telling ourselves we can't be angry. We have to like make our anger palatable, make our emotions that the world gives us, that we have as a consequence of the world, we have to make those emotions polite or acceptable. And that's a really weird paradox to be living in, especially when everyone usually is like commenting about how to like carry it better, but no one's telling you that you're not crazy for feeling it or carrying it at all. So what I would like people to take away from my piece is just the idea that rage too is revolution, and anger is a revolutionary act, and so is love, and so is joy. And don't lose yourself in the anger that the world has given you. Whatever you need to do in order to return back to yourself and who you know yourself to be, to do that, so that you don't become the angry black woman that you're trying to avoid becoming by becoming her. Like, it's a weird position to be in. So it's giving yourself freedom and liberation to feel all your emotions as they come, because we're human and other humans get to do so. So we should as well.
Generally, I think so. Most of my artistic work is really all just my process of introspection, right? And, you know, for me, a lot of this stuff has come from rediscovering those journals written in while incarcerated. And what I noticed is that much of them is just like introspective thoughts, kind of like free write. It's just like, what's my stream of consciousness now, right? But what I have found is through that introspection, it's kind of like just being present in the moment. It's like whatever is thinking or coming up, just looking at it with non-judgment, not good or bad, just what is this telling me, right? Or just seeing it. And for me, that process, I always end out on the upside of the hill. So like a lot of the songs, it starts like anxiety. It starts with all day the pressure be pressing, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, it's like, but instead it made me a diamond dripping like ice, right? It's like through the process of introspection, it's like, you know what, whatever. I'm still here, I'm present, right? So, you know, the show is going on, right? And so I hope that comes across and people take that from the work, that, you know, the power in just being present, you know, and letting it take you where it takes you.
We have a little bit of time for a couple questions from the audience. If you all have any questions you'd like to ask, you can raise your hand. We have a microphone with Keita. All right, in the back.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Cool. I'm speaking particularly to the Howard students, just as young people in this space. I'm just wondering if you could speak to how valuable your voice is in this space and how environments like YPT contribute towards that.
We actually had this during our tech rehearsal earlier this week. This has been something that's been staying with me for the course of the duration of the week. I can speak for Howard. I go back to community. Whenever there's an opportunity being presented to us, there is no, oh, I'm a gatekeep this, and this is for me. It's, if I'm not gonna get it, you gonna get it. Or we gonna send it in that group chat, and we're gonna lift each other up. Like Karma Diesel and I, today, we were lifting each other up just to prepare for this event. But that is accurate and reminiscent of the 4 years that we have had at Howard. And so yeah, and then with YTP just giving us the opportunity to exercise that. Specifically as young people, we talk about liberation, and so there's a lot of rules and restrictions in the real world, and I see a lot of people who are older than me losing their freedom to be who they are and their voice. And so when there is a organization that encourages you to meet yourself where you are, heal yourself, and then thus others, is a tremendous, gratification for us. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I received that as someone doing this work. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yes, echoing everything Joshua just said so well. Just as far as being young and coming into this space, we're all graduating seniors, so that's super exciting. But I also find myself feeling nervous about the world, and not about my personal ability, but just about the state of the world and what that looks like for me, So I really appreciate places and spaces like YPT, because who else is giving young Black people a microphone, a stage, and lights and saying, tell your story? Like, you don't get that often, especially not for younger people as well. And so just to be a student and to have had this to look forward to all week has meant so much. And to be part of this year, like the part of such a an event that has such a beautiful legacy and has a legacy continuing to be written and shaped, and to have our kind of like mark on it as well means so much. And like Joshua said, it's all about community. And so getting to work with so many different people, just to like, between the tech rehearsal and today, like meeting so many beautiful souls who are all here affirming our voices, affirming our stories. People walking by as they're leaving saying, that was beautiful, thank you for telling that story. Like, it means so much to have our voices just affirmed in a world where they're actively trying to be silenced. So, yeah.
Anyone else? And Diesel's going to share his response on that.
Okay. Just adding on to that, just want to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to do what we love. It's like what Karma said, it's not every day where people invite you to share your story and experiences, and it's what, your 10-year anniversary, so you've been doing this for 10 plus years now, so just wanted to say thank you, and to answer the question as well. Being at the community of Howard University, where iron sharpens iron, it's so liberating to be able to tell our story, and especially as young people, being around faculty and others who not only want the best for you, but they also uplift you and themselves and all those around you. So to me, this just feels like the classroom, because In the real world, they may not support you as much, but I know here at Howard and also here at Young Playwrights Festival that they will. So I take advantage of the opportunity because I may not meet it again.
Thank you. Any other audience questions?
Okay. Real quick, before I ask my question, I just wanted to let everyone know that y'all did an incredible job tonight. All of your pieces were incredible, and I really love that I was able to come out and support this. My question is to everyone, but I had noticed it when, you're gonna have to remind me, Mr. G, the poet, he did something that reminded me specifically of kind of like battle rap and the cadences that they use. So my question is, like, what are the inspirations for each of your pieces, and how did you get to the point where you are today with them?
That's a great question.
It's a great question. Like I said the last time I was talking, that I liken myself to be a little rapper right now. I usually oh yeah. So I gotta say this too. This is so apropos. So I used to rap. I was a battle rapper, and my battle rap name, you wanna say it with me? Big Satan the Bully.
Gotta say the name fully.
Gotta say it fully. Big Satan the Bully. Gotta say the name fully. But so I do have a battle rap background, right? And so I also was doing poetry, but I wasn't necessarily doing spoken word. I just used to write it. And then, I don't know, one day somebody asked me to write a rap for an event, but make it more like about what's happening in the world and stuff like that. And when I started to write it, it wasn't feeling like a rap. Because I noticed that when I wrote poems, when I wrote raps, my raps come out a little more different than my poems. Let me say it like that. So whenever I write about something that's socially conscious or something like that, for some reason it comes out like a poem. And so when I wrote that rap, and when I said it, it had more of a poem, spoken word thing to it, / battle rap cadence to it. And so I just ran with that, and then that's how pretty much all of my pieces sound, because it's like I can't shake it. Once I write it, certain words or the way I enunciate something, or even like a punchline, so to speak, it comes from that. So that's my background for real, battle rap. And you ain't battle rapped until you battle rapped in the penitentiary. That's serious.
Mine was birthed out of my experience last semester. Hardest semester I had ever done. I had reached a low that I hadn't before, where self-care felt like it got in the way of everything that I needed to get done. And so I prioritized work over eating, over sleeping, and then I would go out and be like, oh, I'm fine, and smile in people's faces. And I would answer that and immediately be like, I just lied. And like, why? Yeah, and so what I found that, there's the idea of like imposter syndrome, but like most of the time, 9 times out of the 10, the other person, or whoever you're admiring, feels the same exact thing. And so, yeah, I used this creative outlet as a means to heal myself and affirm myself that my humanity is valid, and that the entire spectrum of emotions is mine, and that I don't need to ignore it. I have to take care of myself. So yeah, that was what my play was birthed out of, was a dark time that I turned into some art, and hopefully healed every one of you guys, because it healed me.
The biggest inspiration of my piece was how someone could understand something so traumatic that repeatedly happens, but choosing not to do something about it. I was thinking, like, how can I explain this to them in the simplest way possible? And that became the birth of children's games through that perspective. It's something that even the child can understand. And so a lot of it is based in like my experiences during 2020 because of COVID. I wasn't allowed to go out and support the Black Lives Matter protests. And I felt angry and also trapped in a whole wide range of emotions. And I was like, why can't I go outside? And even trying to explain that to others, they're like, well, you had to prioritize your safety, but they still weren't getting it. And so I thought the use of children's games was something so easy that maybe others will understand. And then it just became an evolution of things that I thought the world needed more understanding of through a medium that was so easy to understand. And then that's how my pieces were born.
Thank you.
I'll say for me, the specific inspiration for the songs from today and the handful that I have came in a moment. So I was released from prison in 2014. I was actually a college student when I went to prison. And so I kind of went in with different scenarios. I came back out of prison, and I was singularly focused on my goal in life is to go back to school, finish, and then catch up with everybody. And so I had done really good at doing that. I had got out, finished school, you know, caught up, was doing my thing or whatever. But then I was in a situation where I realized, you know, what it meant to be triggered. And in a moment, if you're not intentional with that, you can jeopardize everything you had rebuilt, right? And so I knew I needed outlets, right? And so around the same time, a relative who was a producer, I was kicking with him a lot more in North Carolina. He did music, so I jumped up there like playing around, and I realized like, oh, this is a good outlet. And what I realized is that I think particularly for people who are formerly incarcerated, right? For most people, you know, going to prison and the circumstances that surround it is like some of the most significant moments in your life. But the vast majority of folks are not allowed or able to talk about it for many reasons, right? As you're going through your case, your lawyer is telling you not to talk about it, right? They speak for you often. A lot of times you want to say other things they're saying, you know what I mean? You get released oftentimes where there's co-defendants, you know, victims, et cetera. Sometimes you just can't really express or talk about it, right? And, you know, I think in terms of how do you, like, get that kind of rage and anger and anxiety and all this stuff out of your body, I think is by expressing. So anyway, long story short, my inspiration was realizing like, oh, I've got to do something with this. And I think being able to do it where first it was like some of the music, then in theater with Voices on Bard, shout out, whoop, whoop. And I realized like, okay, yeah, expressing. And the thing about it, right, you don't have to talk about it specifically. You don't have to say A, B, C, and D, right? With art, whether it's music, theater, film, painting, whatever, you can depict it, right? So you don't have to say exactly what you're drawing from, but that still can inspire you and others, right? And so that's kind of been my inspiration for this work. Maybe that's what I want people to take from it, too, to the other question.
Oh, I'll answer super briefly because I touched on it earlier. But what inspired my piece was I was really angry, and I was really, really angry. I went to a PWI before I went to Howard, so I transferred from there. And at my PWI, I'm from this area. I'm from PG County, Maryland. It's predominantly black, you know. So I grew up in a certain environment. All of my teachers, not even just my first one, all of my teachers were black. My doctors, even the police officers, firefighters, like neighbors, like it was a very black upbringing, and I always felt pride in that. And now you go through, like, you know, the other hardships of life. Like, you go through bullying, but I was never bullied because I was black. I was bullied for something else. I don't know. So when I got to Rutgers, my PWI that I attended, and I've experienced a lot of microaggressions and racism for the first time, literally almost losing my life a couple times. I genuinely had to still show up to class, and I was expected to have the same demeanor, or I was expected to be like unaffected, professional. That's the word they love to use. They love to say be professional about it. And so I would show up to class professionally, and I felt a part of my being and part of my existence being denied and being ignored as it's actively trying to be like snuffed out. And then one day, one of my classmates, who happened to be white, came, and I think she like was upset because she had a breakup, and the whole world had to stop because she had her heart broken. But when I got called a slur, or when my friend got a knife pulled on him, or when a jug of water was thrown at us walking on the street, like that wasn't given any type of significance or importance. The world had to keep on going for us. We had to remain professional. But for my white peer, her heartbreak was the end of all of our worlds. And so I just remember feeling that double standard of not only anger, but almost envy. Like, I didn't want to be white, but I wanted the privileges and the freedom to feel everything that whiteness allowed. And so I never really got rid of that anger. I'm still pretty upset about it. I don't really know what to do about that. But when you have that anger there, and then other things just keep making you angry, and you're like, okay, I know that I am a very optimistic, hopeful, positive person, but it's getting lost in translation through all the anger that I'm holding and carrying. What can I do about this? And I genuinely was like, I literally don't know what to do with this. Like, I was dumbfounded, because what do you do? What does anybody do? And I went to the black women in my real life and talked about it, and everybody had ways they cope with it, but not ways that actually made it go away. And so I guess this is how I cope. I'm not angry right now actively, but I don't think the anger goes away. I just think we all learn how to carry it better, and I'm hoping that one day a solution is found. Yeah. Not in a depressing way, though.
Yeah, you'll be our final question.
I promise it's short. I just bought this book in your bookstore by Maya Angelou, and I was just journaling what you guys were saying. At the bottom of the page in her print, love liberates, it just doesn't hold. It just doesn't hold. That's ego. Love liberates. Anyway, so maybe the answer is love.
Thank you for that. Yes. What a beautiful way to end the evening. Thank you so much for that. Thank you all for being here. Shout out to all of you. If you are interested in the work of YPT, please continue to follow us. Please make sure you also check out that table on your way out. Check out our buttons, our merchandise, just our materials to learn more about Young Playwrights Theater. Thank you again to Busboys and Poets for having us. Thank you to our virtual audience as well for joining us. And yeah, we just hope that you all have a wonderful, safe evening. Be well. Bye-bye.